back. What's good, Kenny?
What's up? What's up? What's up? How you doing?
I'm good, man. It's been a crazy week for some people named Trump,
It's always a
but me,
crazy week
man,
for
it's
some
been
people.
good.
It's always that for that person and anything that goes along with that. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But today is our sharing it up day where we talk about a little bit everything else other than that stuff. So we got like a whole smorgasbord of stuff to cover, and then we'll get into the core of what the thumbnail and everything kind of mentions. But we'll start off with the story of the astronauts that are stuck in space. What do you think about this?
So Butch Wilmore and Sunita Williams are marooned on the International Space Station after the Boeing Starliner became under or experienced some attitude adjustment issues on its maiden voyage. And we use the word stranded in the most loose of terms because I mean, really, they're on the International Space Station and they're not by themselves. There's at least half dozen other astronauts there who
Mm,
can work with them while they work through the kinks of this new Starliner Boeing uh, the space capsule. Uh, it it's not a failure. A lot of people are trying to make the argument that somehow NASA can't get it right or this is something terrible for Boeing, which is under a lot of pressure right now due to uh, their planes having multiple issues and then years and years of quality assurance failures with them, putting millions of people's lives in danger. So, of course, there's a lot of scrutiny on this capsule and Boeing right now. Uh, my opinion is this is what science looks like. I mean, you're going to have these things, right? This is
that's
the
true.
first time you use a device. I, we've come so disconnected from technology ourselves, right? For instance, your iPhone, the way it works, it might well be magic, right? Because for most people, they don't think about all the work that went through the research and the testing before their phone ever gets into your hand. With these capsules, you don't have that ability. You got to use it. You got to test it at the location. And so this experienced some attitude adjustment issues and had a helium leak. Of course, these brave astronauts were capable of docking with the International Space Station and getting there safely. The concern now is getting them back home. They're most likely going to take a ride on the SpaceX capsule when it comes up to drop off some astronauts. But then also there's an issue with their spacesuits not interchangeable with the other capsules. So we're at the things that we have to figure out.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be that hard to send up some suits for these individuals, but you also got to know their size. They got to be fitted for it. So it's just a complicated situation. So this is science. This is what science looks like. That's my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree. Like, if you wanted to see what it could do, you have to send it up in space and use it
Yeah,
to
you got to
see
put it on
what it's capable of
location.
or what it's not capable of. And the scary thing is just if they were really stranded, yes, they're on the space station. So they're not stranded in the sense of I think people are like, oh my God, they're gonna like die in space. They're on the International Space Station. They have things to do. It's not like they're just
Hmm.
sitting in a tube just floating around. I mean, and they're scientists too, so they get to, assist the other scientists that are on the International Space Station and experiments and everything. But I know some people were the way this story was kind of going across, everybody was like, oh my God. But I'm like, no, it's not that crazy. It's
Hmm.
okay. But I know that
Yeah,
was
and
one
it's
of the
not
big
like
things.
they're up there stranded inside of a capsule.
Yeah, they're
They're
not
in
lost in
a
space.
vehicle that's a football field size vehicle. It's 400 square feet, and even though it doesn't seem like a lot when you talk about like homes, but remember every space of that 400
Mm.
square feet you can live in because there's no gravity. So you can live on the ceiling. When we're looking in our homes, if we were able to take advantage of the ceilings in there, we would have a lot more space, a lot more storage ability. But we don't. We're not ants. We can't walk across our ceilings. With that said, we
True,
move
true,
on to
true.
our next subject. We got those struggle rappers. Struggles. This is my opinion of struggle rappers. I think Kenny has a different opinion. My opinion of struggle rappers are these individuals who are realizing the grift is up. You know, you were a garbage rapper, and when it was 2020, people had nothing to do. And so a lot of you guys blew up in the 2020s. Cardi B blew up during that time when people were just sitting at home streaming all day long. And because you can engage with anything through Instagram and threads or whatever, Twitter, if you still use that diabolical use app store or whatever, um, you could engage with anything and it would count, and you would look like you popping off as a star. You can sound like a star. You can sound like you're really getting it. People are really feeling you. And then you drop your debut album like Ice Spice just did and sell 15,000. And overall, the response to her album is that it's garbage. Same thing with Sexy Red. Sexy Red was trash. She got one of those what are the stimulus plans from Drake. I mean, I guess it popped her a little bit, but
The
now the
Drake stimulus
reality is
package.
you got to sell out. The thing is, they're expecting you to sell out arenas, and that's unquestionable. Sexy Red was expected to sell out an arena, and she had to cancel it because it wasn't selling out. But what were you thinking, putting her in an arena? And Ice Spice, she's claiming that she's dropping out of the her tour because she's a bigger artist than the tour has set her up to be. Even though tickets for this tour weren't selling. So her argument for her cruise putting out there a bit of deception. Her arguing the reason why they canceled her tour is not because she wasn't selling, it's because she's a bigger artist now and she deserves a bigger tour. Bro, struggle, man. What's your opinion of all this nonsense from these struggle rappers?
Uh, I the way you presented the story, I don't have the same vision as you with this. I'm a hip hop head. I'm a hip hop fan. I listen to rap music. That's my place I like to be. Um, Ice Spice album did not do what it was supposed to do. It only sold. You said 15K. I think the last numbers were like 20K. But Ice Spice makes certain music
Five
for a
more. She's
certain
she's making
demographic.
money.
Hmm?
If that was all going in her pocket, she'd probably be fine. But it's not. She's got to split that amongst the label and producers and writers.
Yeah, but that's
When you're in
that
the
is the
industry
normal
playing, you ain't
record
getting none of
business right
that
there.
that stuff sales. You got to sell out of your arenas to get your money.
Yeah, but that's the normal record business. But Ice Spice, I don't listen to Ice Spice. I know her music, but I don't listen to it. But she makes a very particular type of music for a very small demographic of people. I don't know why they thought she was going to be able to do big numbers on anything for the record sales. It doesn't. You have to really like Ice Spice to listen to Ice Spice. That's that. Sexy Red on the other hand, she did get the Drake stimulus package. She has the big song "Rich Baby Daddy" with Drake. But she's been making moves. The big thing with her is that yeah, her concerts did not make the cut because I think she only sold like 37% of her tickets, and that's extremely low. But also with that, going into the way everything is set up right now, concert tickets are crazy expensive. I don't know if you've looked at any as of recently, but a concert ticket with Live Nation pretty much having the monopoly on the whole thing, you got to pay all these service fees, all these different things. By the time you get a concert ticket, you're probably up in the $200, $300 just to go to a concert. And then, like, realistically, I don't think the young people that listen to their music even have that disposable income to even go to see them. And then you got to ask your parents or something. So it makes sense why they make music for the younger crowd, and the younger crowd does not have the money to go and spend to go see Sexy Red at a concert, or
Mm-hmm.
probably don't have the money to spend to see Ice Spice either. Now, the one that was in the thumbnail, Cardi B, that's a completely different story. Cardi B is not a struggle rapper. Cardi B, really, they're mad at her because she hasn't released her next album, because I think she sees the way album sales and everything is looking right now across hip hop, particularly, where getting like right around 60 is decent, when back in the day those
It
numbers
was
would be like,
millions,
yeah, it was way
millions.
more millions. But people consume music so differently now. Streaming has really changed a lot of the stuff on who is really a big rapper to compare to who is just a popping rapper, and that is a very distinct line between those two things. You could be a big rapper and make your money off of streaming or your videos and stuff off of YouTube, but then are you really popping? That's the question.
The biggest problem for some of these artists is now they're going to not. I mean, when you sign a contract or you get your upfronts or the upfront money, it's going to be less because they're going to be like, "Well, are you a you're popular on Twitter and you're being tweeted constantly? but those
Mhm.
don't turn to dollars. That's not dollars. You're not getting dollars from those, you know? So you're not
Well,
getting any money from that. And so then if you're
one of
only
the issues.
that, I mean, how you making money? Like rap used to be, even if you were a garbage rapper, you would at least sell enough in your first album. I mean, unless you were really garbage, to pay off, to have a good little bit of money to survive on until you figure out your next hustle. But now this is your, if this
The
was your
problem
hustle, you were
is
struggling yesterday and you blew up on YouTube and Instagram, and you think that's going to translate to dollars through your sales of your album? Because this was Ice Spice's debut album. I thought she had already dropped an album, but this is her debut album. At least that's what it's been. That's what
this
I
is her
read.
studio album. Hold on, let me verify that real quick because I don't think this is
Yeah,
her
this was her
debut album,
debut
or it
album.
might be her studio album.
Yeah, her debut studio album. She
Yeah.
had like she struggled rapping, so she had some mixtape out there with her shit on there. But this was her debut album, I believe, and it was 10 songs long. It was this show is going to be longer than her album. Her debut album just dropped, and this is going to be longer than her debut album. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
okay, yeah, it's her debut studio album.
And it's
Yeah,
23
so it's
minutes.
her
This
studio,
show,
it's her
like I was
official
saying
album
before,
off a record label.
this show's will be an hour long. Her debut album is the first 20 minutes of our show. That's pretty pitiful for your debut album. Like, and if she's thinking that she's gonna get
What do you mean it's the
paid,
first 20 minutes?
her album's only 23 minutes long, dude.
Oh, see, with that too, that is the new style of how they're doing music. That's why I know I don't listen to that. That the younger generation makes music, they'll have a song that'll be like a minute and 30 seconds. That is a song to them.
Dude, I saw that. I listened to
I'm
her album. A lot of those songs are like a minute 48, a minute
Yeah,
30. I'm
that's
like,
the new style and the new era of particularly hip hop artists for the younger crowd. Because the way they look at it is if you can get a nice hook sample and everything put together, and then you can kind of translate it to an Instagram reel, a TikTok video, those things, that's how they make their music. That's how they really look at it. That's why I know I can't vibe with it. I want my song to be 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That's
for
was
real.
universal standard
It
back
need
in
to
the
be a
day.
standard because I need you to be wanting more of my song. I mean, think about some of the best songs are like 6 minutes long. Like songs that stand out historically are like
I'm just talking
six
about rap,
minute
but
songs.
I'm
And
just talking about
so,
rap,
I
but
mean, just I
that's
mean,
why
it's
they
not a
do
lot
it.
of them, but you know them when they bring them up. You think about Prince, you think about Thriller, you think about Hard Knock Life. Like there are songs that are super long. You're like, yeah, but these songs are like super hits. And then today, man, these songs are a minute 48 and the album's 20 minutes long and no one's listening to it. Because now you can't even argue that the person's attention span ain't there. Because you can sit
I
around and listen to an album for 20 minutes. That's nothing. That's
Look,
traffic in California.
this is what I'm gonna say. I do think the attention span of a certain generation has been cut extremely short due to the way we use technology. Living through your phone, through your timeline, through your Instagram, through your YouTube shorts. That's and then the songs become shorter and shorter and shorter. That's all it is to me. I'm like, they don't have the want or the need to sit around and do like a long play. Like if I listen to an album, I listen to it from beginning to end. I doubt that they would ever want to do that. Like even when the new music dropped, like with Kanye West, Vultures, Vulture 2, I will play it and listen to the whole thing. But them, I know
All
they're
right,
more
fuck
on
it. Since
like,
we
I'm gonna skip
already
this
here,
step.
you already brought it up. We might as well talk about Vultures. I listened to Vultures too, man. You know, the thing I took from Vultures too is particularly in the song Sky, you could hear a little bit of the old Kanye West. And
Hmm.
then there's moments in there you're like, oh, I can see him. I'm yo Kanye, yo yay, try to get his attention. And then you realize all the racist shit, bigoted shit, the ignorant, the black people want to be slaves. It sound like a choice. All you remember all that bullshit, and you think to yourself like, yo, Kanye, you knew you were like this from the beginning. Like, why didn't you go get help that you needed? And then who helped you become this monster? Because Vultures 2 is garbage, but you can hear Kanye trying in it though. That's the sad part.
I look. Vultures 1 was interesting. Had a couple songs on it. Vultures 2, I didn't like it at all. It was just,
I only
and
like the
it
song
just it didn't
Sky.
sound good to me.
Promotion,
No.
okay, promotion. I like the song promotion, but I don't like it when Kanye starts rapping. I put like that. There are songs on there that I could tolerate up until Kanye West started rapping on it. Then I'm like, yo, man, what the fuck? Get Kanye off this shit, because he's
It's his
fucks the
project. It's his
song up,
project, though.
man.
So,
I like in Sky, like in
but I think
particularly in Sky, you can see the experimentalization that Kanye West does with voices. The one thing I loved about Kanye West when he produced songs later in the Beautiful Dark Fantasy and transitioning out and transitioning to it, you could hear where he starts taking voices and layering them on top of each other and creating these soundscapes in these music, right? In my Nakamichi Dragon surround sound system, Sky is so spatially enriched and beautiful. You're like, yo, this is the Kanye that should be on every single song. And he should be creating this beautiful soundscape because that's what he's good at. Shut the fuck up. Stop being a xenophobe. Stop saying stupid shit. Like, get on medication and get back to the art instead of this bullshit that you got going on right now. Because I can see you struggling between these two people. I can see the not just the remnants, but the foundational parts of Kanye West that he didn't pull the threads on enough. And if he had stayed healthy, if his mother stayed in his life, and she seemed like to have a lot of power over him to
mhm.
really pull him in the right direction, because he's a listless ship that has mental health problems. You could see, you could get this beautiful artist. Like, I wish I had that part of his talent to create that spatial sound and then to use voices in the way that he does that makes it sound like a whole song's being played by an orchestra. I want that skill. Kanye West is wasting that shit, man. Let's play this clip
Yeah.
before we move on too far in this shit, though.
People, rappers, comedians, they might have a lot of views and they might get a lot of clicks, but a lot of them can't sell out tours like that.
There
like
you go,
the rapper
right.
Sexy Red, there's an issue right now with her tour. They might cancel it because she ain't selling tickets like that.
Right.
Even though she gets a lot of streams and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something about that?
Yeah.
Everything that's easy, people participate with. But to buy a ticket, park your car, and show up, that's something different.
And
Yes, it
spend all
is.
that
And them
time,
people know it's trash.
Yeah.
They know it's trash. So to actually spend your money, go there, parking on average is $40. Am I right?
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Park and sit down in that atmosphere. That's different than just being online, looking crazy, acting crazy.
End of flash.
Yeah, so I mean, he really hit that off. He pretty much said a lot of things that we said right there. I just wanted to get to that clip because it's very truthful, and I think he's right. Absolutely, people are looking at what the cost is, which you bring up, which he brings up. So it solidifies that perception of the limiting factors of some of these artists' ability to fill these stadiums. I mean, I remember me and my girl went to a concert in LA, and I can tell you it's expensive as hell to get the tickets, and
Hell yeah.
then the parking is not cheap. I think we may have paid in the hundreds of dollars for parking. This is what happens today, right? And so then you gotta you gotta want to go do it. And I ain't gonna lie to you, like I did it because my girl wanted to see this artist. I didn't give a fuck because that's too much work for me to go see somebody like you ain't. Maybe Jay-Z's,
Yeah.
Nas, Beyonce's, Alicia Keys might get me out. There's no Michael Jackson. There's no Prince. You're not getting me to drive all the way out of the way to come see you.
No,
Even
I
some of
just
my
know
favorite
I'm
artists, I
not a
won't go
concert
see them. I
goer.
won't see Maxwell if it's going to cost me a lot of money. I'll be honest. I love Maxwell, but I'm not spending a
Yeah,
bunch of money to
I'm
see
kind of
him
like on the same
perform.
thing where I'm not going out of my way to go to any concerts and anything. But even with one of the big things too, like I mentioned earlier, is how Live Nation basically is a monopoly and they're controlling everything very much the same way Ticketmaster. But Ticketmaster had that big lawsuit. All
Yeah,
those things play into, is it really worth it to go to a concert? And then if you recall, like the Beyonce concert, those tickets were crazy expensive. And it's almost like you really got to be dedicated to this artist, and also going to a concert is a luxury expense.
I was
And
just about to say that it's a luxury expense now, man. It's you can really, and you can argue that a lot of this right here is artists being affected by the economic middle class, the lack of an economically secure middle class America. Because if we still had the middle class that we had in the 80s and 90s, Ice Spice would still make sales. Because there was somebody, remember, we used to buy albums that we had the money, we go buy the album, we spend the dollars because we loved the music. And even if this artist was like, I mean, think of Akinyele. Like Akinyele was garbage, but his like the songs were so salacious, we wanted to listen to it. So we got the Akinyele, album. We bought that thing. It cost you $10, but that was amongst all your music. You had your Nas, you had your Outkast, you had your Ti. And for me in Ohio, we had our Bone Thugs and Harmony. You were buying these albums, and then you would buy these, B star, C star albums because you were just adding on to your music collection. Well, today, if I can grab an Ice Spice song that I think the one song I think is good, I don't need to even support you as an artist because I'll just pull that one song into my my playlist on my Apple Music. And since no one's
yeah,
buying
I mean,
albums anymore to collect music, go
nope,
ahead.
nope. No, I was just
And
saying, like, nobody's buying albums to collect music. It is the streaming industry has really, really changed how, particularly with hip hop, how things are perceived. Because if I'll just keep it real, most black people, and when I was growing up, you don't buy albums. When you had album sales, typically that was like the white kids that bought the actual music albums and all that stuff.
from where I was, we were the black kids buying the albums. I mean, we grew up in
No,
different
when I
places,
had
but it's
money, I would buy albums. But growing up, generally, you did not have that person that bought the album sales. So when a rapper made it big, it mean that yes, they had a large fan base and people had disposable income. And this kind of ties to what you were saying. When you have disposable income, you have a steady middle class. If you have steady middle
yep,
class, then that was like the Ice Spice like fan base. It would really be the parents of the kids that like her that will give them the money to go to her concert,
exactly,
but that doesn't exist anymore, and the kids
exactly.
don't have disposable income. That's why when these things pop up, I'm like, yeah, because concerts are expensive and her demographic doesn't have money to give. I mean, it makes sense to me, but I just think it's weird because when people talk about it now, it's like, oh, she only sold this many albums, or we got to cancel your tour. Their music does not fit a adult, mature person that really
You
want
know
to
what
go.
is interesting? Another facet to this economic experience of the American middle class is that Reagan killed the middle class, thinking that the middle class was a danger to the American economy if they became too powerful and too strong. But what they really did was they destroyed so many industries because the middle class is literally what keeps everything moving. Like, okay, it's easy for Lamborghini and Ferrari to still make money because the more millionaires they are, or the more funds they have for their stuff. So luxury goods, over time you can see that luxury good that's what's considered luxury goods like fur coats and diamonds would always stay in the upper medium because these rich ass people exist to buy a lot of it, right? Instead of a lot of the middle class buying a little bit of it,
Mhm.
you got a little bit of the rich people buying almost all of it because they have to just throw their dollars on diamonds and gold. But what they didn't consider a luxury good was like music. That wasn't put into the luxury goods area. That was just considered something that you have access to because we all make enough for it. And so it was the individuals who kept these artists well fed and these record companies doing well. But now you kill the middle class. And like you said, you isolate those dollars into the hands of a very few people who can't buy enough of what these artists are to even support them. So art, like arts and music and these other things that like books, all these things are suffering because the middle class does not have enough of their funds to spend on goods that will enrich their lives. And they have hurt so many of these artists because honestly, in any other genre, Ice Spice is a big star and makes a lot of money because the teenagers are able to buy her tickets and go to her concerts. But like you said, her little niche doesn't exist with funds, and so now I mean, maybe 15,000 is a lot of sales for that artist. What do you think about that
I mean,
concept right there? Where maybe 15,000 is a lot
I
of sales for that class.
I'm see, my thing is I'm so used to growing up the big numbers. So I don't know what a good sale is per se anymore. But I can say who's a popping artist. Ice Spice is a popping artist. Now that is the truth of it's hard to translate that into actual money, but I know she's a popping artist. Like I know who she is, but I don't know if we were to take her back into the day and we did where people were actually buying albums, if the numbers would even translate to what it would look like then. So I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I know she's everywhere. We hang out with Taylor Swift. She gets commercials. She gets endorsements. But I don't know that number is a bad number. I mean, everybody's saying it's like it's a bad number because it's low. But for this climate that we're in music, I don't know if that's a real bad number. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think it might even be a measurement of the health of American economy. We always say the American economy is doing well, but we're not seeing the evidence of that in certain spectrums. So I think it identifies as niches of Americans who are being hurt more by the economic standard that we have right now. You can see that play out in certain genres of music where one artist is doing very well. So that means that whatever niche she's a part of has a lot of cash that he's just throwing at stuff. So, for instance, Taylor Swift, her little economic niche must have a lot of expendable income or are willing to make sacrifices for her in particular because she seems to have no problem selling out. But then there's also Beyonce, who also doesn't seem to have problems selling out arenas. So, what does
But
that translate
this is
to
the
your
catchy
girl
difference
over
that I'm
here? Go ahead.
but that's what I'm saying. With Beyonce, she creates music and a more mature uh fan would be able to go see Beyonce. Like if you see a Beyonce concert, you see the pictures, it's usually older, mature women who probably are fully established in their careers, have disposable income, and can go.
So you know
That's
what's
the big
interesting
difference.
that you just said? So that would mean if we were in a more equitable middle class standard of living in America, Beyonce would be even a bigger star because that niche that doesn't have access to her shows and to her music would have access to her shows and her music and would elevate her even higher.
Possibly, I don't know. This is how I see it though. I'm like, yeah, if you see a Taylor Swift concert, they pay that. Taylor Swift tickets aren't cheap either,
No,
but
they're not.
they pay that, no question, or willing to sacrifice, like you said. But the group that Ice Spice particularly makes music for, the younger, I would say, if anything, she probably is a college student, or if it's a she, if it's a he, he's probably a college student. But they don't have anything that they can. If they got to make a decision about between putting gas in their car and making it to class, or putting gas in their car and making it to their job that they do outside of going to school, I think they're going to make that decision of putting gas in their car compared to paying the outrageous price to go to an Ice Spice concert. Compared to, like I said, somebody that's already in their career mature, they have, I can spend $800 to go to a Beyonce concert because I already have it and I've already established. That's the big difference. And that's why I'm like, when you say struggle rapper, I'm like, there's a reason, but then I'm like, I'm out of touch with their certain demo that I don't know if it's really a struggle. But I know she's a popping rapper, but is it really struggle, or you know what I mean? That's it was just when you put this on, I just had the issue with the word. I'm like, and then like we said in the middle,
But
Cardi
what?
B.
So we're not sure, right? I think we could argue that all of these rappers are struggle rappers, in the concept that the major or the largest group of Americans that support them don't really have access to them and are struggling because of the economic conditions on the grounds in their lives. that they're not able to truly engage with their favorite artists. And so, for instance, these individuals who represent that demographic are inherently struggle rappers. Maybe I'm still right because there's no doubt that Cardi B, Ice Spice, and Sexy Red, their main demographic would be considered the struggle part of the American experience.
I see the thread you're trying to weave it through,
I
and
read a
I can
thread. I put
reasonably.
that thread in. You can pluck on it. Let me you pluck on it. See where it makes some
No,
sounds.
no,
I bet you it
I'm
makes
hearing you.
beautiful
I hear
music.
the thread that you're weaving through, and it would make. Let me see how it'll go. I would agree. I would agree. It's just that, and I keep isolating Ice Spice because
Mm-hmm.
I know that, like, Sexy Red wouldn't fall in that one because she will make music for the club. And if you make music
Mm-hmm.
for the club, people will waste money. That's oddly enough a dispense. What's the word I'm looking for? That's an expense they are willing to sacrifice. But comparison to paying to go to a concert, that's the expense they're not willing to sacrifice. They will
Mm-hmm.
pay money to hear Sexy Red, get a VIP selection, pop champagne, and all that stuff. But Ice
Yeah.
Spice demographic can't even do that because they're usually extremely young. That's the
Mm-hmm.
big difference. Cardi B is kind of in the middle, but Cardi is not like, she's not, in my opinion, a big ticket or a concert seller. Like
Yeah.
I don't think she could sell out anything big, but they just kind of want her to just drop an album, and that's kind of the big thing that's going on with her. But I
Yeah. I mean, I think these are. I think there's a lot of people that's going to be, eventually, if we don't change the way the economic outlook for the middle class, are all going to start becoming struggle rappers. I mean, for instance, too, you can go from a rapper who was super successful as Drake to a struggle rapper. I mean, think about it. Drake just dropped 14 songs. I asked if you heard any of them. Your answer was no, but you had one friend told you to listen to one song. I didn't even know he dropped
mm.
14 songs. No one in around me knew he dropped 14 songs. The way I found out is I was watching a video on a other YouTuber who was like, "Hey, did you know that Drake dropped 14 songs?" And he has like this whole list. He opened up a 100 gigabyte hard drive for people to go engage with like his music and the stuff that happens in the background, and but no one's engaged with either of those things. So Drake went from a player who led and who was the leader of music to a villain in uh, a Pixar movie. You're pretty much becoming that thing that's trying to break the system itself, because now he's not. No one's paying attention to him, right? He did the the Sexy Red collab, so the stimulus play uh, playbook that he pulls out, and it
The
didn't
Drake
bring
stimulus
him
package.
anything. No one's
But
checking
no,
on him.
the thing that's going on
He's
with
talking about the
Drake
beef
though.
is still on.
Well, yeah,
Go
no one
ahead.
is checking on Drake because after the whole Kendrick debacle, that's pretty much what it is. So people, no, Drake still has his diehard fans. Don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of Drake. Just go, and then a lot of the stuff that has been exposed about him per se, and it was just people. If you're a Drake fan, you're still gonna be a Drake fan. I don't think that's gonna change. But I know everybody's not rushing to say that, hey, I listen to Drake anymore like they would
Hmm.
probably back before, only because they'd be like, you still listen to Drake? Like, yeah. But after the battle, I think it kind of changed people's perception of, if you like Drake, you still gonna like Drake. But I don't think you're gonna tell everybody I'm a Drake diehard fan, because they'd be like, he lost, right? And then that gets into a whole nother argument. So
Let me play this last clip I have before we transition.
They're doing, who they're doing it for, how to get it done, and they just need the machine to push them. You know what I mean? Artists have submitted to us to say, hey, I want to sign me, work with me. And I'm like, okay, cool. Then I'm going to hold the mirror up and say, why you? What was your music for? Because if you knew all these answers, you wouldn't need me.
So his position, or his view of it, is that what happened is a lot of these rappers didn't know who their music was for. Kind of in what we were saying before too, like knowing what your demographic is.
mhm.
And eventually what's going to happen, if there's some AR representative that's paying attention to what me and you are saying, they're going to start saying, what is the demographic that your music is for, and what wealth do they have? And if that demographic doesn't have any wealth, they're going to do two things. They're going to tell you, one, you need to change your music, or just walk away and not even tell them why they're walking away, because they know there's no money there for them. And I think you remember we used to talk about uh, the gatekeepers, right? You had the gatekeepers who made sure
Mhm.
who got into rap music, who got into R&B, who got into this music. I think today what's going to happen eventually is that economically they're going to be economic, industrial psychologists who know exactly what demographic you fall into, and those are going to be the gatekeepers. And the problem is, are we going to lose out on good music? And therein lies the conflict. Before we had gatekeepers, they were good at making sure whatever was coming to the door had some quality. Now, of course, some of those gatekeepers like Diddy and so on and so forth were questionable gatekeepers. But overall, gatekeepers made sure that we were getting quality in, we weren't getting shit in and shit out. Now we're going to have some industrial psychologist somewhere who looks at demographics, and then we're going to have sitting next to her a statistician, and all they're going to do is look at numbers and go, "You don't make us money if you don't fit in all of these boxes. Which one do we want?"
That all is already that is already happening. A lot of the music podcast shows I watch, basically they're saying, but record companies, they're trying to basically get rid of artists altogether. They are really, really, really going down that line of, we can create a song based on this style of person, this style of flow, this whatever, put it out. We don't got to have a concert. Nobody's doing the concerts anyway, but we can stream it on the thing. People play it. They want to be on the subscription. Boom. You got a virtual artist, a new fan base, and it's all the analytics to see, oh, these people over here like this type of music. We're going to create this type of music and send it directly to them via their iPhone, their, however you get your music. And
I have a question,
unless
Kenny.
you
Do
are
you
a,
think that's a bad thing?
do I
I mean,
think
I
that's a
think it's a
bad thing?
bad thing. Yeah. But do you
Hell
think
yeah,
that's
that's
a
a
bad
bad
thing?
thing.
Now, okay.
I get the
There
business
now
of it,
I
but
want to play a little bit of devil's advocate. I think it's a bad thing. I think humans losing their access to the equality and the freedom of music and allowing record companies to be the gods of it is bad for all of us. But I
mhm.
would argue, though, would not there be some algorithmic artist that you would like over the work of someone else who's doing a like subject?
No, I would agree. If there is nothing different than seeing somebody else's time feed or timeline. If it can figure out what you like, it's going to perfect it till it's perfect, and you wouldn't probably know anything. I just know because I'm aware of, oh, they're going from here to here to here, and I prefer to hear a real person tell me a real story about what they went through, their heartbreak, their love, all that stuff from a real person, not just a combination that's been just taken here, and these are the key parts of a song that makes people like it, and they put it together, give it some other voice, and then they put it out. I,
Now, I ain't gonna lie to you, Kenny. That world sounds awesome to me.
nah,
I'll tell
nah.
you why. I'll tell you why. So this is what you could do. As a person who studies psychology, I love psychology and sociology. If you were a person in a certain state of mind, and I can open you up and help heal you through sound and music by perfecting the things that elevate certain parts of you and then maximizing that. My God, such a more effective way to engage with a person's mind, soul, and body than having to use drugs, right?
No,
If I
look,
can,
I can give you a
and so
prime example.
if I can pick like certain parts of a song, because there are times where I hear music and I go, man, if I could get a whole playlist of that type of sound and then have it maximized, it would hit something that I need. Like you could get on a musical high with these tools. Like
No,
if someone
I can give you a prime example. I can literally give you a prime example. If I gotta go do something, I really don't want to do it on my YouTube music, it gives me choices of what it is. And I will, and you know me well enough, when I pick Energize, they play perfectly matched songs of it's songs I've heard before, but the way they sequence them and everything, I'm like, damn, I feel good. Let me go handle this business. It really works. I'm not lying to you.
See, I
If
don't,
I
I
want
don't
to be
use
relaxed,
that. I don't
say what?
use that, so I don't. I mean, I wish that Apple had a cogent of that. I don't think they do. I definitely am not aware of it myself. But if I could craft something like that, I would do it.
No,
And I don't. I mean, other than maybe YouTube, who seems to have created something that you engage with that you like on that level. I can see where that has its advantages.
look, prime example. I don't know if you can see it, but right now, every week it gives me a recap of what I listen to, and it'll tell me how much I listen to it and all that stuff. But the funny thing
Show
is,
it again.
see at the top, it says relax, energize, it has podcasts, party, feel good, workout. But no, it will play songs that really would match my vibe, my tempo, my feel. And it's because you think about it, I've been on YouTube and listening to YouTube music for like ever. So it has tons of data on me about music.
Mm-hmm.
And like if I could hit a random mix and I will probably love almost every single song that they would play. And I can listen to it for like road trips, driving across the country and stuff. If I hit that, it'll play, and I won't hit not one song that I don't like. Because also I know I'm a person that would thumbs up or thumbs down a song. And I've been using it or I've had been on YouTube for like more than 10, 15 years maybe now. So
Uh-huh.
it knows. So and
I mean, it sounds like a good
I'm
tool that you have there.
no, but you know me, I'm like, I think this shit is kind of weird, but I'm not gonna lie, it works. It works. If I want to feel good, I click that feel good. It's whatever it thinks. It gonna pull these songs like, uh, he feels good when he hears this, or he will listen to this song the whole way through, and it'll sequence them all. So it's
See, I
crazy,
want
man.
something algorithmic that does that, and maybe there's music out there that already does it. But there are millions and billions. I don't know how many songs there are on Apple Music, but if you told me it was a billion, I wouldn't doubt you
Mm,
because I can listen to a song in any country around the world. The problem is, how do you find that music? And if these algorithms were so effective, like if Apple created an algorithm that saw you listen to this song and it saw you listen to this song 10 times and was able to analyze that song in a way that it found like songs like with throughout the entire world and shared that music with you, that would be something that I'm really looking for. That's what I want to see in an advancement of music choices. And if you're telling me that there's an algorithm that just there's a AI that can do it, or there's an algorithm, I'm
hmm
open to either. I can tell you for sure
I think
this
it's
one
both.
over here is more dangerous. An AI doing it, an AI just like listening to parts of a song and then making up a song and then making up 100 songs that all follow that rhythm and then have a certain theme to them in their lyrics
Mhm.
with like a beautiful voice, a
Yeah,
perfect voice, perfect tone, and perfect spatial audio. That is going to be really, really hard to reject for a human, right? Like if you got
and
crack right
that is
here
what they're
and you
going
have
for.
a cookie, a lot of people are going to eat that cookie, but the first person to eat that crack, they're going to go right back to that crack because that experience is going to be so much more elevated. So I like cookies. I
That
don't
is
want
some
to
of
do
the
the
stuff.
drug, but an AI is something that you can get hooked on and could elevate you on a take you to a place mentally through music that was relative to a drug high, which you can with music, but you have to like really be able to decrypt a person's mind because every person's brain, the way they engage with sound is unique.
Mm,
The bones in your ear are unique. The way you hear things are unique. We all hear the same notes. The way those notes engage with our body is unique. With that said, did you want to say anything else about this? I thought this was a good conversation. It took 15
Oh
minutes
no,
out of the
that's
show.
pretty
Did you
much
want
it.
to
That's
engage
just
any
the
more
whole
with this
thing that
subject before we roll out?
no, I was just the last part I was gonna say is no, but that is the thing that's coming down the pipe where the record companies are cutting out the actual people, even departments. Like they don't. They don't even have A&R departments anymore because they're not going to
Wow.
pick you up as an artist unless you're already established. And the only people that are still
Damn.
doing good are like legendary acts. And then we're losing those. Michael Jackson's passed away. Prince has passed away. You
Yep.
just heard with Aerosmith, he had his throat, so they had to end their farewell tour because they couldn't finish that. All
Yeah,
these
there's a lot of
legendary
those
music acts
classic
are
artists.
coming to an end, and you get it. I'm not comparing like hip hop kind of, but in certain music, it's so microwave now that the record comes like, shit, if they just want this quick thing, we can just have a robot do it, basically. And that's kind of where a lot of this stuff is heading.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But instead, we have Angelina Jolie in a movie that Kenny wants to talk about. So,
Oh yeah, there was
what's
a
going on
big thing
here?
that was trending. So Angelina Jolie, she's going to deliver a critically acclaimed performance as Maria Callas in the new film Maria. It's going to be directed by Pablo Larraín. The film is expected to be a major Oscar contender, potentially earning Jolie a Best Actress nomination. So if you don't know, which I didn't know either, Maria Callas, she was a opera singer from New York, and apparently she had one of the funny. We were just kind of talking about this. One of those perfect voices. Um,
Wow.
so she was a regular kind of first generation immigrant in America. She had like a perfect voice. She sang opera, got big and famous, and now they're making a movie about her. And Angelina Jolie is going to be in it, and they said it's already going to possibly be an Oscar contender. So that's the gist
She
of it. This
looks
is a
a
big
lot
thing.
like her right there. That's for sure.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
could be
makeup and
her
everything look
like
good,
distant cousin for all we know. Jeez, they look a lot alike.
possibly. But yeah, it's just going to be a biopic about the powerful women, including Jackie and Spencer, and these are just people, characters that were also involved in their life. And it's expected to be released on Netflix, but they haven't gave an actual date yet.
Cool. All right, and so Kenny wants to talk about this is a
This was
public
another big.
announcement or something going on here,
No, it was a big
like
trending
public
thing.
service announcement. People do not have. I mean, females usually get UTIs, so
Mhm.
it's very rare for a man to get one.
Yeah, but so this is a big trending thing. Apparently, recently, they discovered, looking back across the history of the past couple of years, that there's been a significant increase in UTIs, and they're basically saying it's connected to the meat, the E. coli, and the bacteria in the meat that people will like eat something, put it in the fridge, go back and eat it. When most people think you're going to get it just from being, not wiping properly and all that stuff. But it was just a big thing that the World Health
Oh,
Organization
whoa,
said.
that's crazy. So people are getting UTIs from meat. They take out the refrigerator,
Mhm.
cut some of it up, eat it, put the rest back in the refrigerator, eat it again later, and they're getting UTIs from this.
Yeah, and there's been a worldwide increase in UTIs. That's why the
Dude,
World
that's
Health Organization,
crazy. Did they
because
say what the mechanism that's causing this?
it really didn't say. Well, it says consuming contaminated meat can introduce E. coli into the human gut, potentially causing UTIs. The routine use of antibiotics in farm animals may be contributing to the antibiotic-resistant strands of E. coli. So it's a combination of giving antibiotics to animals to make sure that they don't get any diseases, then processing that meat, and then people taking it home and doing all this stuff with it. But they were basically just
God
saying there was a worldwide
damn.
increase in UTIs being reported.
Well, it's funny. I remember my father used to say, if you take it out, you need to eat all of it.
Hey, makes
And
sense.
I don't always do that. Like, I mean, I don't ever recook what I usually end up throwing it out. But if I grab some meat and let's say I cut like a part of it off and I'm like, I'm gonna come back to this piece and I put it in the freezer, I never actually re-engage with that piece because it's always disgusting, right? But I
Mhm.
can see people doing that though, pulling some meat and then putting it in the refrigerator, which I would never do. I feel like if you come to your home and you have a freezer and you have a refrigerator, if you take that meat and you stick it in your refrigerator, you need to be eating that in the day. You can't be letting that sit in the
Basically.
refrigerator. And if you put it in the freezer, you can leave it in the freezer for an amount of time, but once you pull it and thaw it, you need to be eating that meat that day. But I mean, it's not like that scientific, but I think this is the world we live in, and I've always been taught this, so I don't know if other people have been taught other ways of dealing with meat.
Yeah, I mean, well, when I was doing like galley inspections and stuff, you got the danger zone, got to be, outside of the 40-degree range. If you have leftovers and stuff, they quickly need to be chilled and then put into the proper containers. and then frozen, and it got to be consumed within 3 days and all that stuff. So it's just worldwide. I think people don't care enough. They think that, hey, I'm going to eat some of this, put it here, and then not knowing that in some countries they have power issues where the power will go out. So even if you have a refrigerator or an ice box or however you want to call it, if the power was down, that meat, that spoilage is going to occur. And people just need to be aware of that. But it was just reported by the World Health Organization that they were like, there has been an increase in UTIs. And we
All
were
right, people, this is a public service announcement from Dianoia and Stirring It Up. Our combination is a PSA. If you pull that meat, you need to be eating it that day, and you need to make sure you cook that meat well, because there's an increase in E. coli getting into the bowels and then causing UTIs, and we want you guys to be doing well. And you definitely don't want to get a antibacterial, you know, you don't want to get a UTI that doesn't respond to antibiotics. That's
Yes.
going to even be worse.
Extremely, extremely. All right. I think that's unless you had anything else on the thing.
No, we're good. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming and watching our show with us. With that said, Kenny, you want to give any updates on what's going on and stirring it up, and or things going on?
No, we're just making moves and everything, trying to get rebuild. That's the key words over here now, is rebuilding. But shout out to the people that were watching over on Kick. We got 5 over there. Shout out to the people that are on Twitch and of course YouTube. I don't know what happened to Facebook. If you are watching on Facebook, it says we're streaming there, but I can't see it. So if you could do us a favor, come over to our YouTube. We got 2 different channels. Dianoia is live. That is the Tuesday show. That is the more serious of politics and things that are going on in the world that you need to know. This show, Sharing It Up, is more kind of a hodgepodge, mishmash, variety show of just crazy topics and things to discuss. But yeah, hit us up on YouTube. Give us a like. Give us a share. The chat is always open. Thank y'all for being here.
All right, guys. See you guys on the Tuesday show on Dianoia. Peace.